let's go. Good. Okay. All right, we're gonna get started. We have a pretty, what I hope is a pretty short meeting tonight. No, they stay out there till the end.
Oh, sorry, that's later you'll get here, okay.
Yeah. Thank you, though. So we have a pretty short meeting, I hope, and with that, I'll call the meeting of the February 17th, 2025 special board meeting to order. Ms. Smith, would you please call the roll?
Ward.
Here.
Thomas.
Oh, I printed out the wrong one.
That was funny. I'm like, what's up? That sound weird. Hold on.
Maynard.
I'll get it.
That's
I can do
Maynard.
it anyway. Hold on. Ward, yes. Tate, yes. Smith, yes. Potter,
Yes.
yes. Keller,
Present.
Delaney.
Here?
Hey, what's your last name?
Maynard here.
Maynard.
Okay.
Golden.
Sorry about that. Everybody's here. Would you please join me in the pledge?
Sorry, my brain's fried.
I didn't even notice.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So we only have one item on the agenda to deal with. It's our special action item, the superintendent search. And our presenters for this are Dr. Keith Williams and Wayne Gibson. We got you that stool.
So we're up. I appreciate that too. Appreciate that. Well, our goal tonight is hopefully to come out of this meeting with some criteria. And that is important to us because we need to have the criteria established and set before we can post an application and get things moving. And that's our goal, is to hopefully get an application up by midweek and start communicating with some of these folks that we've been talking to. I think the best thing that would approach to this would be to inform you on how we came up with these recommendations for criteria. And I'll let Wayne start because he and I both have been involved in this. This is a team effort, and I'll let him start and talk to you about what he's done, and then I'll end up with some things that I did to craft these.
Again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As far as the criteria, interviewing each one of you and also the 4 community meetings that we've had, we had a wide range of opinion, if you will, from those 4 groups. And that's, in essence, where we came up with the criteria, along with what Dr. Williams had presented earlier. And we just crafted it that way. But again, there was varied opinions on the district, good and bad, and that was a good thing to see both sides of it. But that's how we came up with the criteria, along with answers from you all as well.
Okay. Also, there was information in the survey, your K-12 Insight survey. There was a question about leadership traits, and I'm not going to read that to you, but I know you've had the opportunity to look at that, and the things that were emphasized there by the people that responded are the same, correlate to the same things that we discovered from listening to the interviews from the board members, notes on those, and also the notes from the community meetings. So we feel like that we have captured the main threads through all of these conversations and these community meetings, and also through the survey, to come up with some recommended criteria. Now, I want to mention one other thing about the survey at this time, because I think it's relevant to this. I just talked to Ms. Jessica a few minutes ago, and there was 14,000 or more blasts sent out about inviting people to participate in this survey, and that includes parents and staff and all of that. Then also that was on Facebook pages, which you have a lot of followers on that. We had about 575 respondents. Now, you also saw the respondents from the feeder zones, and you saw the respondents from the staff being nearly half of the respondents. So that tells you that that we got some good info there but I heard an old experienced superintendent who Dr. Guest knows very well, Dr. Benny Gooden, say, one call does not a landslide make. And what he was, you heard him say that? And what he was implying is just a few people cannot, I guess you would say, accurately communicate everything that the masses are saying. But of course, we appreciate the people that did respond, and we use that information as we crafted these recommendations. Now, you've had a copy of these recommendations. I think they were in your packet, and I think the best approach is just to open it up for comments.
Questions, comments, anybody on, what we're looking at here is, it's a one-pager, it says recommendation at the top, and it's got 13 bullet points. And that's the sum document that we're talking about, and we would want to vote on some kind of document like this tonight.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Tate, Dr. Tate?
I wondered if we knew what the time frame is to get licensed in Arkansas. I wondered if we should put licensed in Arkansas or eligible for license in Arkansas.
Let me tell you the way that we respond to that. As soon as, if we have an application from out of state, there's a question on that asks, are you licensed in the state you're applying for? We ask that question. First thing, if they say no, the first question I ask them is, have you checked with the Department of Education for reciprocity? Now, that is much easier to accomplish now than it was a few years ago. But if a person is applying for this job, then if they are licensed in another state, then they should be able, through reciprocity, to get licensed in Arkansas in a short period of time. Now, we would follow up on that and make sure, if they were somebody that we felt like merit your consideration, then we'd follow up on that and make sure that's not something that they're still playing with or not taking care of by July 1.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
I agree with Dr. Tate that I'd like to see that say who is able to be licensed in Arkansas or some other wording, because how many will we have that don't apply because we're saying our criteria is they have to be licensed in Arkansas?
Okay, could we add the word is capable of acquiring a license?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that'd be
Eligible to?
Okay, eligible?
Yeah.
Who is eligible to be licensed?
Eligible to be licensed in Arkansas? That'd be very easy.
I also don't want to limit myself to someone who has experience with as a superintendent or who's worked in the central office.
Well, let me ask you this. Would a statement like this be acceptable? Who is eligible to be licensed who is eligible to be licensed in Arkansas and prefers an applicant who has administrative experience in a district similar to PCSSD?
Yeah,
Would
would be
that
okay
work?
with me.
Would that work? It'd be
More
easy.
open, less conditional.
Pardon?
It's more open, the way
Okay.
you just stated it, and less conditional.
Okay.
So that gives more of a freedom of application, for which then you can go through and
Right.
clear up.
What would that do to somebody like an assistant commissioner or something like that at the State Department, though? Like if assistant commissioner was thinking about applying, what would they, would that rule them out if they, because assistant commissioner at the State Department, in my mind, is kind of a big deal. I would want to consider them. Would an assistant commissioner be, downgraded because of this?
No, it wouldn't in my opinion. I'll tell you why. Working at the Department of Education for a few months, a year, 2 or 3 years is one of the best experience that an administrator can have in regards to being prepped for moving into a school district.
So maybe we could say administrative experience for the like,
Or the like.
something similar to, or something like that. Since it sounds like there's things above that level that would not be included in that maybe we should include in that.
Where were we, we're just talking right now, decisions aren't being made here, we'd have to vote on that. Eligible to be licensed was the first thing in Arkansas, the first thing, but then what was your other thing that you said?
Who is eligible to be licensed or able to be licensed in Arkansas and prefers an applicant who has administrative experience in a district similar to PCSSD. Now, here's the thing about it, I don't think you're gonna have as you mentioned, an assistant commissioner that has not had district experience.
Okay, well
Now,
then,
some of those folks may not have had experience in a district the size of PCSSD, but working there, you are allowed to be exposed to everything that just about happens within the state. It's very good
okay, well,
experience.
then forget that,
Yeah.
that's a good point,
It's
that,
very-
that they
it's very
probably
good
came,
experience,
they
yeah.
probably came from a district.
Yeah, they came from a district to be there. You won't find someone there in one of those assistant commissioner spots that has not been, in a public school district, and, they have to have good credentials and performed well, or they would never be there.
Okay, so we're okay with someone that don't have superintendent experience. They don't have to have superintendent experience.
If we changed it to who is eligible to be licensed in Arkansas and prefers an applicant who has administrative experience, it would not require superintendent experience.
I'm trying to figure out when did we change from that as far as asking that they have superintendent experience.
We have never been directed as that as being a requirement.
Okay,
But commonly, I mean, when I wrote these down and Wayne and I collaborated on them, that, we felt like that was a good starting point in regards to allow the board to look at it and give us their input. And the word prefers an applicant who has had administrative experience. Wayne and I, as we start vetting these applicants, you can rest assured that if somebody does not have some experiences in their past and performed well in something similar to PCSSD, then they're not gonna be one that we would recommend to you to consider or bring you information about, when we bring forth what we call recommended finalists for your consideration. Our vetting process will I think, cover those types of things that you're mentioning, superintendent experience and that. Wayne, you have,
So do that.
now we talking about offering somebody $300,000. So they don't have to have superintendent experience. It's crazy. Sound like we got somebody in mind.
The way that it was written originally, before anyone even spoke, prefers is, it doesn't require it, right?
that's
It
exactly
simply-
right. That gives you flexibility. You may have an outstanding individual, high performer, that shows that they have, the skills and the past performance that does not have superintendent experience. And, they may not have worked in the central office, but they still have proven themselves as a capable leader. And leadership expands beyond just where they are. A great leader will be able to work in a different environment and be successful.
But it wasn't required as it was written right here.
No,
right?
it wasn't. The word prefers eliminates the requirement.
Have you ever worked in a search that had a specific, requirement that they had to have been a superintendent before?
After doing probably 65 plus, I'm sure that I have, but I can't think of one right now.
Would you say it's common to require they be a superintendent?
Usually the word prefer is quite common.
Okay, not required to be a
Not required,
superintendent,
preferred.
right?
Preferred gives you the flexibility.
Required is gonna narrow your pool significantly,
narrow.
right?
It is.
So, for example, if they were required to be a superintendent and then you got like an area superintendent from the Chicago Public School District who may be over, 10 times more kids for that area
Right.
would be excluded,
If you had the word, required.
yeah.
Questions, additional questions, beyond question number one?
Okay, we're gonna have to come to a conclusion on one at some point, but we don't have to do it right this second. But before we get out of here, we're gonna have to have decided what to do about it.
Okay.
I didn't have any other issues with the other ones.
I noticed Fort Smith, I know that you're not doing Fort Smith, but they only had like 5, right? 5 or 6? Yeah.
And what happened, what they did is probably grouped 2 or 3 of the things that we have here would be grouped under one. And crafting these, we looked at this and saw that it'd probably be easier and more clarity to place it like we did with these 13 points.
Is 13, in your experience, I'm just leaning on your experience, is 13 too, I mean, you made the list, so I'm assuming not, but is 13 a lot? Is it normal?
These could have very easily been condensed in some similar type searches we've done in the past into 5
Okay.
main criteria. That would be including 2 or 3 of these points or numbers in just one.
Okay.
And we made it broad, because we didn't want to, lead, the board. Just wanted to give you, latitude
Yeah.
on your thoughts.
So let's leave one aside for a second. 2 through 13, does anyone have a problem with 2 through 13? Okay, so let's try this. I move to adopt 2 through 13. And we're just gonna try to do that, and then we'll come back to 1. So I made a motion to adopt 2 through 13, not number 1. We're dealing with number 1 separate. 2 through 13, I made the motion. Ms. Maynard, seconded? Okay. Discussion on adopting 2 through 13.
Number 12, who has proven to be trustworthy and will provide unity in working with the Board of Education. If they haven't had superintendent experience, where are they gonna get this working with the Board of Education? Where would they get that experience from? Who has proven to be trustworthy
Yeah.
and will promote unity in working with the Board of Education, if they've never had experience with working with the Board of Education? How they gonna provide something they've never done?
Because they've been trustworthy.
Oh, okay.
They'll have to explain that. It doesn't say that they have worked with the Board of Education. It says they will promote unity working with the Board of Education. I think somebody who has been a superintendent who would be able to speak better to that, which is probably why a superintendent with experience is gonna be a strong candidate, regardless of whatever these say. Because if you have somebody who's saying, here's what I would have done if I was a superintendent, and then somebody says, here's what I did do as a superintendent, I think one of those sounds better.
A person that has good people skills, soft skills, will have learned in other experiences of how to work somewhat with the board. And every board is different, and every time you have a change in the board, that creates a different dynamic. But a perceptive individual will work with board members and work to promote unity. Now, whether they'll acquire unity, I don't know. They'll work to promote unity.
So we're on 2 through 13. Okay. All right. I'm going to put 2 through 13 to a vote, and then we'll come back to 1. All in favor of adopting only 2 through 13 on the recommended list, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I got a question.
Okay.
Number 6, who promotes fairness and is consistent in maintaining discipline and order in the classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
This our criteria that we're going by? Or like you say, we just voting on, we can take out what we need to take out? President?
Do you want something taken out?
No, I'm asking. Are we voting on this criteria?
What the motion is to approve 2 through 13 as it is, as it's written right now.
Okay, y'all got it. Y'all the majority.
So, but I'm gonna put the vote back again. All in favor of 2 through 13 as they're written on the one pager, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, that's 6-1 with Ms. Ward as the no vote and everyone else yes. Okay, so that brings us back to 1. So we have criteria, but we need to figure out what to do about 1. Your options here are to do nothing, to delete number 1 and just leave it out, or change it. And what's the pleasure here? So we can start with, how do you feel about eligible to be licensed added? Just that piece.
Who is licensed in Arkansas or is eligible to be licensed in Arkansas?
Who is eligible to be licensed in Arkansas? Does anyone have a problem with eligible? Because it makes it broader so that, I don't know, it makes it sound like we're not just looking for somebody from Arkansas. Okay, so I would think if you would not want that if you just wanted to restrict the search to Arkansas. You would want it if you would want it to be just that they can come here and do the job in Arkansas with the license that they have. Does anyone have a problem with that? Okay, so let's always use that in number 1, whatever we decide on, okay? So then the issue comes down to as you're looking at your sheet right now, we had on here, an applicant have administrative experience as a superintendent or worked in the central office of a similar district to PCSSD. And Mr. Williams, what did you suggest for language?
Refers an applicant who has administrative experience in a district similar to PCSSD.
Administrative experience in a district similar to PCSSD. So essentially what this would do is that it would remove experience as a superintendent or worked in the central office from this number 1 and replace it with administrative experience generally.
Yes.
Right? So you've got building level, district level, these type of things. The way that it was written now is it seemed to preference district level. It said that we preferred somebody who had district level experience. And it didn't, but administrative would cover building level too.
Yes. Right.
So if you want something like that, then essentially what you're saying is you want to broaden it out to encompass building level as well. That's how I would read that.
I like the alternative
Mr. Williams is alternative? Okay.
with Dr. Tate's eligible in there, which I
Oh,
think,
yeah, well, the
I think
eligible-
that might have been in his too.
I think under any circumstance, eligible to be licensed will be in there.
Let me add a caveat to that as well. Let's just say that we had an applicant from out of state that did not have an Arkansas license. And they started working immediately to try to gain reciprocity. And if they lacked, let's just say, one course or something of that nature, then they could, and I don't know if the correct term still is ALCP or alternative licensure plan, they can file a request with the Department of Ed to allow them to go ahead on a waiver, I guess you would say, and practice in that role. But it also could be stated in your contract about them completing the licensure requirement within 6 months or a year or whatever, if they lacked a little bit in licensure requirements. If they did not have it secured the time that, July 1.
Okay.
And I've seen that happen before a number of times.
But would you recommend that we even interview somebody if that's cloudy?
Well, it depends on the applicant and what was required, what they learned from talking to the Department of Education about, securing a license through reciprocity. Right now in Arkansas, it requires a master's degree, building level administration, and 24 hours course credit to become licensed in Arkansas. There is the standard assessment that's been required, but I think that's going to be eliminated, what we call the superintendent's licensure assessment. I think that's going to be eliminated, but still they have to have those 24 hours.
How much more difficult does it make your vetting if we change it to what you had as an alternative?
It doesn't make it any more difficult to us to vet applicants.
Okay. And the way it was written originally, it didn't exclude somebody from building level anyway, right? It just said we
Right.
preferred different.
Right. It did not exclude anybody. If they had experience as administrator, then they still could have.
Yeah. Okay, so will you read, since we've added who is eligible to be licensed, will you read what your alternative is?
Who is eligible to be licensed in Arkansas and prefers an applicant who has administrative experience in a district similar to PCSSD. And that's implying that's what the board is seeking,
Okay.
and the board prefers.
Question,
Yes, ma'am.
what do you mean when you say, district similar to PCSSD?
Okay,
What are you saying?
PCSSD is a very complex district, and I begin to appreciate that more from the last month that I've been looking and researching and meeting with, at the different communities. You have completely opposites, affluent to poverty, and a person, in my opinion, now this is Keith's opinion, and I want Wayne to, come in here too. It's a lot easier for a person that is worked in a district of poverty and minority to adapt to working with other communities than it is a person that's only worked with the affluent and if they've never worked with minority and poverty, they will have great difficulty being successful.
Agreed.
So I think that is something that we would be something that we would use in our vetting process. We quickly would research that and make sure that they've got that background.
You agree?
Yes, yes, and again, as far as the size, also, again, as Dr. Williams said, knowing how diverse the district is, someone that has that experience on a smaller level, as he mentioned, in coming in and adapting to the others. So yes, I would agree with that.
Knowing that the word diversity is such a bad word right now.
Well, maybe in some circles, but, no, I guess. But,
Okay, so we don't have a number one yet. We have the one that's on the sheet of paper, and then there's who is eligible to be licensed in Arkansas and prefers an applicant who has administrative experience in a district similar to PCSSD as an alternative. Does anyone, we can adopt number one as it is on the sheet, or we can go with that one?
I move that we go with the one that you just said.
A
Okay.
second.
So the motion from Dr. Tate would be to adopt who is eligible to be licensed in Arkansas and prefers an applicant who has administrative experience in a district similar to PCSSD as the number one criteria, like criteria number one. That's the motion, and who was the second? Maynard was the second. Okay. So that's the motion on the floor right now to deal with number one, is to substitute what I just read for what's on the sheet.
Yes, that will be, if you approve that, that will be placed as number one criteria.
Okay. Discussion on that criteria I just read. Okay. Let's try a vote on it.
Okay.
So the motion is to substitute who is eligible to be licensed in Arkansas and prefers an applicant who has administrative experience in a district similar to PCSSD. All in favor of substituting that for what's on the sheet, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
I have that 6-1 with Keller as the one?
No, it's
5-2, okay. 5-2 with Ward and Keller as the nays. Okay. Do you
We've got our
want
criteria.
to talk about the timeline for a minute? I've got that on the agenda.
I definitely do. I gave you an example of a calendar, and I want this to be something that we can agree on tonight. And of course, if we do agree on it and there's something that happens, we can change it. But you'll notice immediately we'll advertise this position. School Board Association, Administrative Association, McPherson Jacobson website. It's already there about forthcoming. But and we've got calls. I mean, it's out there that this is coming. We'll post the application ASAP. I'm hoping by Wednesday noon that the application will be posted on our website. Tuesday, March the 11th, let me see, when did I say we're gonna close applications?
11, March 11.
Yeah, top, oh, I see it now, okay, it wasn't bold. I tried to alter a calendar and it was so set and I didn't have the skills as Mr. Stephen did to change it. So it would not let me do some things that I wanted to do. But March 11th, we'd close applications. And we would do our thing of working this next week and some people that we know that we want to contact and ask them to look at the position and hopefully we'll draw some interest there. Then, of course, we know that being posted in-state, out-of-state will also create some interest in the position. But on March the 11th, which is your regular board meeting, we would do 2 or 3 things that meeting, which will take very, very little time, but still it needs to be done. We typically, and this is something you need to tell me if you want me to do it or not, we will craft a bank of questions related to these criteria. Then we'll create more questions than you probably can ask in a 2-hour interview. We would submit that to you and allow you to prioritize those questions that you value the most and also add any questions that you want. And this will be done through SurveyMonkey. Each one of you get an email and these questions would be there. Now, we would talk a little bit about that on that night, but the question is, do you want us to create questions for you and let you look at them and add to, subtract from, whatever? Do you want us to do that? Okay, if that's okay?
I think, I would expect
Okay.
that the
Like,
board would
what's your
want to
common
make their own
practice?
questions.
Pardon?
What is your common practice?
That's exactly what we normally do, is we
You
create
build
a
a
bank of
set?
questions related to the criteria, give them to you. We ask you to pick your top priority, then after all of you finish doing that, the ones that are prioritized the highest by the most board members are the ones that we would create or place in an interview packet.
Well,
Perfect.
And you could add questions to it now. If we missed anything you wanted to add to it, you could.
I don't think that process will probably get us to where 80% of our questions are maybe come from that. But my expectation would be is that individual board members won't want to be limited to any.
You can add any question you wish.
Well, but then if one board member adds a question,
Okay.
how do we get to them asking the question? Does the other board members like vote on it or something? Or if they want a question, to ask a question, do they just get to ask the question or to put it on there? What's that process? Because I think we're probably gonna wanna know how a board member can get a customized question that they want to know. Maybe the other board members don't even wanna know it, but that board member does. How do you deal with those situations?
Well, being honest, I've never had to deal with it. Because commonly when we do the bank of questions, it's easily to find the prioritized questions. And we add what we call some general questions that are not in this 13 criteria. And then that usually encompasses it all. Once in a while, we'll get 2 or 3 extra questions that are asked, but I've not seen any questions that I would consider as being controversial or something of that nature.
Okay, well, if a board member, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was about to say, that question has to be vetted, of course, because there are certain things that cannot be asked.
Yeah, okay, well, of course, right, there are certain illegal things that you can't ask, but assuming it's not illegal, if a board member really has a question that they want to get asked, shouldn't they contact you and maybe talk to you about it so that you can understand and get what needs to be done, set up, so that the question is appropriate?
Sure.
Right.
That could be done.
Okay,
And then they would ask that same question to each applicant.
okay. Well, so when do you need to know what our questions are gonna be for the interview?
Well, we're going
13th.
to craft these questions real soon. And then what we will do is, we will get these to the home office. They will put them in the survey questionnaire and SurveyMonkey and get it prepared to email them to each one of you.
Okay,
And then we'll give you a couple of days after you receive that email, right after March 11th, we'll have them send to you those questions, and you will prioritize those questions, and then you would write in, if you had an additional question you wanted to ask, then you would place it at the bottom. Then when we get that back, if you want us to send a copy of the additional questions that have been asked to you, then that's fine, we can do that.
Are these questions we're asking in the interview or you're asking in the interview?
No, we're not in the interviews. You're asking.
So that's-
We're asking, you're asking us questions. We
They're-
can't be in the interviews.
They're giving us a bank of questions that if something's in there that matches what we're interested in, we can pick those,
Yeah.
right? But if something's not in there,
Then
and
you can ask them.
if a board member has looked through those questions and says, nothing in here is what I want to ask, then they should probably get with you. Right call.
That would make it simpler in regards to finalizing the process of getting your interview packets. It would, if we could talk with you individually. If you had a question that you wanted to ask, and talk to us about it, then we'd be more than happy to talk to you about it.
Well, I just want to say to the board, if you look through those question banks, let's get them to the board as soon as possible, okay? But my advice, for what it's worth, is if you look at those question banks and you don't see something in there that you like, start working on what that question is, and let's get it to the consultants and make sure that you get whatever, because I want every board member to know anything they want to know about a candidate that's legal to ask. It can't be a prohibited reason, but I think that if you're going to be able to work with a board this diverse in terms of its opinion and thought, and in a district like this, you should probably be able to answer questions from people who think differently, okay? And so,
As a note of caution, I would hope that you would not, well, let me back up. You're going to be interviewed, as you interview them, they're interviewing you. And I hope that you do not ask questions that's going to make them walk out that door and say, I don't want to have anything to do with this job. That's what but I'm just being facetious there and trying to be.
no, I know what you mean.
But we will do that. We will work to get you the bank of questions. Any question that you have or you want to call us about and possibly add, and we'll talk to you about it, then we'll make sure that there is agreement on the final questions that are going to be placed in your interview packets. Now, what we recommend is this. Typically 22 to 23 questions that you all will approve. And then we want you to assign and replicate. We want you to assign each question to the same board member that asked every applicant. We want you to replicate each interview. This promotes fairness. We don't want it being run randomly. We want the interviews to be replicas of each other. Now, there's nothing that says you can't follow up a question if they open up something that you want to ask about. But we want every interview to be a replica of the one before.
Are you gonna give the candidates the questions as well?
No.
So they won't know.
We want them to have to think on their feet.
Oh, I thought that's why you wanted to give us the questions,
So
so you can give them the questions.
No way.
So wait a second. So if we have a problem where we're having a hard time agreeing on or coming up with a set of interview questions, I can't just drag the board back here to solve it, because then everybody will know the answers, right? Or the questions that are going to be asked.
Pardon? Now say that again. I may not be following you.
So if there ends up being some kind of controversy over custom questions, okay? Let's say I come up with a screwball question. I've never done that in my life, of course, but, and we just can't solve it offline, okay? Legally, but offline. I would normally just say, we're gonna have a special meeting to solve it, but if we're sitting here given all the questions or whatever, that goes against,
You do not want to do that.
okay?
You do not want any applicant to have access to the questions prior to their interview.
Okay.
Because those questions will determine a lot of your view of them as they respond, how spontaneous they can think and respond to those questions, because the questions will be probing.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the balance here, because I want to protect the board member's prerogative to ask the questions they want to ask that are legal to ask. But, so I guess I'm just asking the board, if you want custom questions, start early so we can try to get those through, because it sounds like what you're saying is like you might have expected everybody to just order off the menu, right?
Not really. I mean,
Okay.
we have questions added. I mean, it's not unusual to have questions added. We've never had questions that were suggested or asked that we felt like that created any controversy with the other board members.
Okay.
So how much time in advance we're gonna get these questions? And then we'll have to finalize them, and then the interviews will start, how long?
Okay, let's just look at the calendar here. Okay, we're going to close the interviews on March the 11th. That's when Wayne and I's intensive work begins we'll begin
You're
some of it.
closing the
before-
applications, you're closing the applications.
Applications will close on March the 11th. Okay, then, we will actually meet with you that night and talk about we'll get the survey questions to you possibly earlier than that. And, then we will talk about the procedure for selection of finalists. We have a protocol that we typically follow, but we will adapt that to what you wish for us to do, and we'll talk about that later in this meeting. And also just remind you that your compensation package needs to be, discussed, and you need to agree upon that when you start talking to applicants. When a person interviews with you, at the end of that, you need to let them know what the compensation package or range is that you're thinking about, instead of them having to ask you that. Then on March the 31st, April 1, 2, or 3, that's open for whatever date you want. We will have a meeting, and we will review the candidates with you, and the selection procedure that you determine on March the 11th for selecting those finalists will be what we will do that night to help you select the finalists. And then finalize the candidate daily interview schedule. We do not know now. You've got to think about what else you want that candidate to do other than come interview with you. Do you have certain groups of individuals you want them to meet with, business community, Chamber of Commerce, whatever it might be? If you have meetings, groups you want to meet with them, and talk to the finalists, then you'll determine that. Then we'll finalize the daily interview schedule and finalize the district interview schedule, and we set up the interviews for you, and right now we've got the interviews set up April the 7th through the 10th, and then, of course, we got spring break in there after March 31st, the week before that spring break, but we'll get those interviews set up April 7th to 10th, and you'll do your interviews that week.
So April 7th through the 10th is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday deal.
Right.
Would they be in the, when the board did this last in 2018, I recall that they did them, you wouldn't know this, but I think, Eli, did y'all do them during the day?
You can't legally, can you? Well, you could, I guess.
I was here, thanks for asking. Yeah, we did them in the day.
Did you?
Okay,
Is
yeah,
that
they were
an
done
FOI
during
thing?
they were done during the
Yes, is that
day.
an FOI
Back
issue?
in that room, right back there.
We all took a day off, and as I remember, we all sat back there for the,
I didn't think they could meet during the daylight.
I didn't either before 5 o'clock. That's,
Well,
pardon?
It's not a public meeting.
no, it would be a public meeting, it would have to be.
Executive session, your interviews
You-
are an executive session. We'll need to check on that, and then
Yeah, we'll get a
also,
legal ruling, but that's what happened before,
Okay.
okay? And it would be a public meeting because you have to call a public meeting, and then inside of the public meeting, you have an executive session.
right,
So what that means is if you're sitting out in the audience, you don't see a lot, but it's a meeting you're entitled to be at.
right. So that needs to be approved. We need to get legal counsel on that.
Okay.
But whatever they say, I hope it's what you will do then.
Well, the law says you can't have meetings dealing with personnel or personnel policy.
Before 5 o'clock.
Before 5 o'clock.
Correct.
So we may have to do these in the evening if that's the ruling.
speaking of personnel, is the list of questions that you're gonna be emailing, is that gonna be considered personnel? Or otherwise, it'll be FOIable?
Your bank of questions is what you're asking about, right? That's FOIable, right? They could get your bank, right?
I've never had that FOI, but that's.
Well, now you will, watch.
Hello? Welcome to PCSSD.
Welcome. But probably,
It could be.
probably.
And then it could get leaked to somebody's favorite candidate.
Well, you know, scoring sheets that we use here in the district, I think those are releasable too, but legal says differently, okay? So there are it's not gray area, but there are areas where you can get two attorneys together and they say different things.
Right.
But probably is my answer, for what it's worth.
So when we finalize the interview questions, do we do that in executive session where it would be confidential?
No, you can't, I don't think so, because you're not dealing with a person.
Commonly, the interview questions are determined from your response to the survey, and then we take the top priority, 22, 23 questions from your response to that survey, and any questions you add become the interview questions that we provide to you in a packet and a scoring rubric.
Yeah.
But that's not in the executive session.
No, you can only, even though they say executive session is for personnel, it's for a specific person, okay? It can't just be about personnel in general. It has to be, it can't be about, you know, all teachers in the district. It has to be about one teacher in the district, or one person, or a set of names.
Now, your input on the calendar, this timeline.
Sounds like the biggest thing right off the bat is, what did you say, 3, 4, 5, 6 of April?
Yes.
31st, 1, 2, 3.
No,
You'll be,
what
are
did
you
you
talking
say?
about when you select the candidates that you want to interview?
Oh, okay, no, 7, 8, 9, 10 of April,
Yeah, that's the
No.
interview dates.
yeah.
And if, there's a chance that when we get to April the 2nd, that'd be the following week, that's a Thursday. That's a week off from that. Depends on the candidates and where they're located about if you could do it sooner than that or not. But typically, we like to post an interview date when we put it on our website. Now, let me tell you one thing, and this is for thought now, it doesn't have to be determined March 11th, we'll get more specifics about this. But what we commonly do is this. We will take all the applicants and we will vet them. And we will, the ones that merit intense, focus from us, we will go very deep on them. And then we will allow the top 3, 4, 5 typically to float to the top from our point of view that meet your criteria. Then we will ask for a video of each one of those. We request a video. We look at that video, sometimes we may request a video in 6 or 7, but that video is an opportunity for us also to eliminate an individual that we think could be considered as a top finalist. We will bring back to you reference work that we've done in a summary form of those top 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. And then we'll also allow you to go into executive session and look at the videos. And then you will pick the ones you want to interview from those people that we call recommended finalists. That's what we normally do. We still will bring the applicants, all who applied, their folder and everything with us, and allow you, if you have a question about one of them or whatever, then we'll respond to that. But there is a reason why that we do not bring an individual to you in being a recommended finalist.
Have y'all ever disagreed?
Who,
You two.
we confer on all of it. Oh, we talk, we talk a lot about, when we start vetting those applicants, we start talking and comparing.
Yes. Yeah, we have,
Well, who won?
we usually come to a consensus at some point. There may be something that I've overlooked, in that person's background, in their credentials, that, Dr. Williams, saw.
We feel like the district wins. When we communicate and talk about the individuals that applied and we're vetting them extensively.
And he may know something about the applicant that I don't, and that would be some of the reasons that I may have said no or yay and vice versa.
So if you bring 3, 4, 5 with videos and we look at those, then we narrow it down to how many for interviews?
That's up to you. I have done searches where they've looked at 5 and they said, we're gonna interview the top 2. We feel like the top 2 are here, there's a break there for the bottom 3. It's wasting our time to interview them. It's not uncommon anymore to interview 3. We see that probably more often than we do here. I have had a few instances where their boards have interviewed 5, but I think that convolutes things. I think if you go through 3, then 4 and 5, I think I recommend 3 but that's your choice.
So, as it looks now, one of the things that board members are gonna have to figure out, I think, is this schedule. 7, 8, 9, 10, you need to be there for all the interviews, right?
Yes, you do.
But legally, if somebody misses an interview, they still get to vote and everything,
they vote, yeah.
but it's a compromised process at that point, because they'd be voting on candidates that they hadn't seen.
Right.
But
Every candidate, it wouldn't be replicated. Every candidate wouldn't have had the same interview.
yeah, but if one board member hadn't even been in an interview, is what I mean. So, yeah, right. Are we agreeing or disagreeing? I can't tell.
Agreeing.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, because if they're gonna assign questions to the same person, they would have to be there to ask.
Yeah. So, if 7, 8, 9, 10 is out for somebody and they want to participate in the process, we need to find into some other dates, okay? Because we really need 7 people here for every
There's
single
another
person.
thing you might consider too, is if you're not gonna have them involved in activities all through the day, it could be possible to have 2 interviews in an evening. 7 to, if I start at 5, go to 7:30, 7:45, and then have a second interview after that.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
But that window, keep that in mind, because if you know of a problem, we'd like to know it now so that we can not be surprised. Because 7, 8, 9, 10 is what's penciled in here.
Right.
And that's gonna be the intense decision-making period.
Well, on either March the 11th or that week there where we meet with you, it's your choice, and you select the finalists, we could determine that then as well. We need to change an, interview date.
So, when does the board see the videos, the semifinalists, what I'm gonna call them?
We bring those with us on the, meeting of, March 31st, April 1 or 2 or 3. And then, we will bring you summary of reference work, which is public information. You can rest assured, what we do is Stephen, we will meet with you at least an hour before that board meeting starts and share with you all that we've learned from interviewing all these, vetting all these people. And the things that are negative that we're not going to communicate in public, we will share that with you, why we did not bring so-and-so forward. Then, we will come out in public and we'll have a reference summary on each individual that we call a recommended finalist. And then we have videos that you will take, reference information, applications, all that, go back in executive session, look at the videos.
And all this is being done this way because legally you can't come into executive session with us, right?
You can come out of executive session one at a time and talk to us if there's a question, but we can't talk to more than one at a time.
Yeah, you can't go in the room. You're not an attorney and you're not our attorney. So they've added that. You knew that, right? But it doesn't help you all. Okay. So that's the reason for the extra steps in the process. Okay, so it sounds like 2 sets of meetings here, 31st, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. Those are less time intensive because you're watching videos and things like that. But that window of time gets us to our finalists. We go from semifinalists, recommended semifinalists to finalists.
Right.
And then 7, 8, 9, 10 of April is where we go from finalists to the selected person.
Exactly right.
Okay, so that's clear. Okay,
Is that public, the meeting, where we're watching the videos of the
No.
people?
No, no.
We're
That's
gonna be-
private, okay.
no. The meeting will be called as a public meeting.
Correct.
Anybody can come.
Right.
But we will move to go into executive session to see the videos.
Right. Yes.
So the building and the room has to be open. We have to come in, gavel in, do everything, and then we go back and then come back out and leave.
And we will give our recommended finalists in public to you, plus the reference work that we can share with, we're not gonna say anything that would be perceived as being scandal.
Yeah.
Or anything negative, but then you will take that information, go back into executive session with the videos and make your decision.
All meetings are public, but the allowable pieces of the interview and the selecting of the person is done in executive session inside of a public meeting. So just to be clear, if somebody comes out and says, they said they weren't gonna do public meetings at PCSSD, that's not what we said. That we're gonna have a public meeting to start and end that meeting, and then in the middle is when allowable discussion of personnel or staff, employing of personnel happens
Very good.
in executive session.
And you're gonna find out if this can be done before 5.
Yes,
Yes.
I'll get a letter on that.
Y'all like to be here all night.
Are you gonna check with?
I'll check with Jay and get a letter for the
Rebecca?
board.
Okay, appreciate that. And the other thing, and just to make sure that we're clear on this, I'm gonna get these interview questions to you way before the 11th of March. And then, of course, I hope you keep it close to your chest, because you know that's gonna be, we do not want any of these questions to be known to anyone other than you. And then if you have questions that you wanna ask us, or about adding questions, then you have Wayne and my phone number, and you can call us and we can talk to you about it. And then we can work out getting a, interview packet, prepared so that, we feel like that everybody's questions or their needs have been met in regards to the interview process.
Okay.
And again, the importance of everyone making those meetings, because I'm sure you all are already aware that this is the most important job that the board has in selecting a new superintendent.
Okay. Let's start early on the question bank, because,
I will.
because everybody's gonna wanna have as much control as possible over the questions that come out of their mouth, and I just anticipate that.
And it wouldn't surprise me that because of you being so, each of you being so intimate with the district and knowing things that we don't know, that you'll have a question that's valid that needs to be asked. I mean,
Yeah.
that's-
In 2018, for example, they had a question, one person asked on the desegregation case
Right.
and related to it, which most districts wouldn't ask that question. So this is
Now,
This is
that has
something that happened in the
changed,
past.
the emphasis on that has changed a lot now,
Yes,
when you're just
yeah.
getting down to your final phases, my understanding, facilities and
Yes,
those
right.
things.
Yeah, at the time, the desegregation case had more elements to it. At this point, there's really only one element left, and we anticipate it being done soon.
Good.
Okay,
So after the, interview process, the questions are open to the public can know what we asked them.
Know the questions that you ask after it?
probably.
Yeah, I don't see any
I'll-
reason why they couldn't.
I'll ask the attorney about that too.
That's,
But I'm trying to figure out how Delaney know what happened in 2018 and you wasn't there. You wasn't back in our executive session, so how you know we asked for desegregation?
Because I got the questions, I have them, they were public documents.
Okay.
I was under the
That answered
table.
my question. They can be leaked to the public.
They can come out as part of a court proceeding, they absolutely can. Okay, thank you all. I appreciate y'all coming out tonight.
we're on go.
Drive safe.
No, not yet.
I appreciate y'all allowing us to do that work in advance and y'all getting through it very quickly, because this is what we need to move forward. And
Stuff,
Thanks, sir.
can I get the sheet?
You're not gonna charge us any extra
For what?
for any, it's gonna be the set amount that you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it 19?
I don't remember what the amount was for sure.
It was something, that's what we said at the Mills
He
meeting.
never forgot.
Yeah,
That was just 21 plus expenses.
21 plus expenses.
I thought that's what it was.
Okay,
We are transparent.
I know, I see
Huh?
about that money.
okay. Thank you all.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You have a clear understanding on the criteria, right?
We
Everything's
do.
good.
We're very clear on
Okay.
that, and I'll just wait till you, hear from Jay and Mr. Beckett, and let me know about that, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I will, and I'll get a letter to the board on this as well.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Uh-huh.
all.
thank you all.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Y'all drive safe.
Thank you.
So, next up, we have our comments package. We have 2 public comments tonight. The first commenter we have is Courtney Stone Jackson. Let me read my thing, just a sec, you can come on up, but we allow each speaker 3 minutes for public comment. I will keep time for us tonight. Our responsibility is to listen to your comments. It is board policy that we do not respond or discuss your comments during this time. You have First Amendment rights during your 3 minutes. My polite request is for any complaints involving a staff member, please consider whether it is necessary to name that staff member in order to make your point. But board members are not staff members. Just a second, I didn't bring my big clock tonight. Okay. Got you going? You're good to go?
Hello again, members of the board, and hello for the first time, Wendy Potter. Wendy, my name is Courtney Stone Jackson. I'm a parent of 3 children zoned for Pulaski County Special School District, and my husband is an alum. President Delaney, I want to thank you for your reconsideration for allowing public comments this evening. It is much appreciated. Ms. Ward, I want to thank you for pushing the board on the superintendent criteria to ensure a $300,000 salary requires prior superintendent experience. I want to thank you for asking the majority of the questions tonight as some members remained silent. And it's concerning as if they are not putting deep thought into consideration into this search. Thank you. Wendy, I wasn't sure if we were ever going to meet between you blocking me on social media, refusing to answer any of my emails, and neglecting your duties last week. If you would like to take the easy way out, I do encourage you to miss the next 2 regularly scheduled meetings so that that could be 3 in a row. Since you weren't here last week, Wendy, I've been a teacher, a school leader, and educational consultant. You have board comments after these public comments. Do you intend on apologizing for your Facebook comments this evening? Do you intend on apologizing for not showing up last week to hear from your constituents? Students and parents sacrificed time, skipped extracurriculars, faced cold weather, and you were nowhere to be found. We need board members who we can count on, not board members who buckle under pressure. I'm here again tonight to voice my extreme concerns over the ethics violations. I would like to again lay out these ethics violations. Now that the board has been aware of these ethic violations, I do ask that the board report these ethic violations, as your silence will speak volumes. Ethics violation number 1, realize that he owes primary allegiance to the educational welfare of the people, especially children of his community. Wendy, when you publicly joked about ICE raids, when you publicly joked about families being torn apart, you demonstrated that your primary allegiance is not to the welfare of the children of Pulaski County Special School District. You are incapable of being a leader for this school district, and you are unfit for public office. Ethics violation 2, respecting the rights of others to hold and express opinions. Wendy, you have a Facebook page called Wendy Potter for PCSSD. If you are going to continue to block your constituents on that Facebook page, I ask the board that she must remove PCSSD from the title of that Facebook page. Otherwise, that is another ethics violation, as you do not respect that others in this district have the ability to voice their opinions. She has to remove PCSSD from that title on the Facebook page. Ethics violation number 3, compliance with legal procedures for board meetings. It is imperative to recognize that with the exception of executive sessions, all school board business must be transacted during legally called and open meetings.
Ms. Stone, your time. Could you just complete this last sentence if you had one last thought? Not a long thought, please.
Yes, thank you. If you need anybody a form to file a citizen's complaint on the ethics violations, I have them here for you. Wendy, if you're incapable of upholding your code of ethics, then just say that. And if not, then like you told the whole world on social media, get over yourself, Wendy, and get off of our board.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. Our only other comment tonight is Juanita Kroon. Good to see you again.
Good to see
Also
you
you too,
guys.
Ms. Stone, if I didn't say that before.
Thank you, board. I wanna, I'm probably gonna be a broken record for a while because I don't want classified staff members to be omitted from any increases ever again. And that includes all of us, including the technology department. So I really want y'all to consider speaking or advocating for us to get some funding from our governor, as she did with classified staff members. I think they got up to 19%, and I know that's kind of, we're in such a pickle, we couldn't even ever consider that, but at least consider something for all classified staff members. And so I'm gonna keep coming up here every time, but yeah, I would like to yield the rest of my time to Ms. Stone if she has more conversation. But I do appreciate all of you guys, and I'm gonna keep asking for our classified staff to be considered and remembered.
Okay, thank you. There's no yielding in this situation. That's not a thing, but you get three minutes as often as it's up. Every regular meeting, you can come do this, and any specials as well. Okay, that completes our public comment. Thank you for your comment, Ms. Kroon, as well. That brings us down to comments from the board.
Let me have your paper, I'll read it. Is that against the law too?
Filing a ethics report?
No.
No, you can have the paper. That's fine. Okay, comments from the board?
I'd like to make a comment. I appreciate people coming out, but I think that everyone needs to also remember that we all dedicate our time because we care about the students and because we care about all the students. And I think sometimes things get blown out of proportion, and you need to remember that we don't get paid for this, and we put a lot of time and effort into it too. And I think sometimes people need to remember to be civil and understand the perspective maybe of other people sometimes.
Other comments?
Oh, yeah. What they're referring to is, there was I guess that's President Trump's head, and it had Ice Baby on it, for people that didn't know. That was posted on social media, and someone commented, you're a school board member and responsible for making decisions that impact students from all backgrounds, yet you post this. You should be embarrassed and ashamed. As the only African-American person sitting on this board, I know y'all cringe when I talk because of the fact you don't know what it feels like to be an African-American. You don't know what it feels like to be discriminated against. I know y'all so over it. You're so over it. Won't they just stop? You can turn that clock off. But as an African-American, I would be doing my constituents a disservice if I didn't say something about any children being mistreated. I go to every school. I do not just say, oh, I'm only going to go to the meals feeder because that's what I signed up for. I signed up for all the children in the district. I go to all the graduations. I shake and pray for all the children that come across that stage because of this world that they're finna go out and face. But to get this, I don't know if that really showed the true person that you are, as far as to make a joke. And you said it was a joke. That's not a joke. Families are being torn apart. But if you've never experienced it, you don't have the empathy. You don't know what it feels like to be discriminated against. Apparently you don't, because you've never been discriminated against, I guess. But as long as I'm sitting here on this board, I'm going to let my voice be heard. Because y'all don't like to address the elephant in the room. It's like, oh, let's just let it die down, let it go away. No, this means something to a lot of our parents. I hurt for them because of the fact that they got to feel like we got to keep our kids at home because we're afraid that ICE is going to come and get us and take us away from our families. So can't nobody change who you are. But as long as you sit in that seat, you need to have some integrity about yourself and the children that you serve. You don't just serve, my mail. I seen that you said, the people that's mad are not even in my zone anyway. That was an even lower blow, because there are people in your community that felt what you said, and it hurt their feelings. But like I said, oh yeah, and by the way, Black History Month. Thank you. Think about what you say. Think about what you post. If you're not for all the children, just step down. I represent all the children because they don't have a choice. Some of these children, the background, their households, they can't make the decisions. And I hate when a child is being punished for the way that their parents are raising them. It's not their fault. And I'm not gonna sit on this board. Yeah, just count my days down to November, but that's okay, you gonna hear from me till November. I'm done.
Other comments? Just want to say one thing. I found the funniest comment on Facebook this morning, or this afternoon, and it was, if only I could claim all the kids that Pulaski County Special School District thinks I have on my taxes. That we sent out 25,000, or probably 500,000 phone calls.
I received messages while I was working, my friends saying, what is wrong with the system? I've gotten a call from every school in Little Rock, and I live in Sherwood. Like, every school call out went every 1 minute. So a lot of parents got 25 missed calls from different numbers, so I get what the joke is, yeah.
No, it was this afternoon.
Ms. Duff has tried to make sure that got fixed.
We have fixed that, right?
Yes, I hope
Okay.
so.
I think a
Well,
lot of people.
while y'all, let me just intercede since y'all telling jokes. Back to another serious matter that happened in the district as far as, I'm not gonna call no names, but the fact that we were recommended someone in the district to come and review our district, but they had an alternative motive about what they were trying to do. And I'm so curious on what agenda was given to them to come into the district and say that it was too many blacks in the admin positions. That was hurtful. That was very hurtful. Because we never say when there's too many whites in the positions. So for them to say,
She says it all the time.
for some, yeah, because I'm black all the time. But for someone to come in the district, be recommended to come in the district, to look over, oh, you can blow all you want. You didn't knock on doors like I did. To come in the district and recommend getting rid of some of our people. That's an insult. But I guess tonight, we're going to also vote on something that was a recommendation. But y'all okay with it? I'm not okay with it. Because if don't nobody say anything about it, you're going to keep on doing it. Get tired of me.
Comments from the superintendent?
We, of course, have got bad weather on our doorsteps. We made a decision this afternoon to have school tomorrow. We believe that we can come and spend most of the day here. Most of the districts in this county are releasing somewhere about 11:30, 12:30. That's what we're planning on doing. But we're also watching the weather, and if the system changes, we may make adjustments to that in the morning. We'll announce those to the parents, hopefully just one call per home, if it all works. Right, Ms. Duff? But anyhow, we're watching in the morning to see if that needs to change. Otherwise, we'll be here till sometime around noon.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dr. Guess.
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Ms. Ward has made a motion to adjourn. Ms. Maynard has seconded. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned.